folks. It's Marvin Cash, the host of the Articulate Fly. We're back with another Southwest Virginia fishing report with Matt Reilly. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble. And you've got big news since the last time we recorded.
Yeah, man. We're officially a family of 4 now, so things have been a little busy, a little bit off kilter for the last couple of weeks, but we're doing just fine.
Yeah, you sound unusually chipper to have a newborn in the house.
Well, he sleeps pretty well. Not that I'm the one doing a whole lot of that middle of the night stuff, but I think we're gonna get lucky, man. We've had two really good sleepers and very amenable children, so I think we're gonna be all right.
Yeah, I was not so lucky. Both of ours were super colicky, so count your blessings.
Yeah, it's funny how people, especially people who have had difficult children, when they hear you got an easy one, it's like they want you to have the experience that they did. So I think there were a lot of people secretly hoping that our second child would put us in our place, but it hadn't been that way yet.
Well, hope it stays that way. So, you've put smallmouth in the books for the season, really, and you've fired up on the musky front. What are you seeing?
Yeah, that hospital trip pretty much ended smallmouth season, and I got did a handful of musky trips over about a 3-week span of being at home mostly. But things have not really changed a whole lot in the last couple of weeks, other than maybe the water temperature. We've had real low water. Whereas I was out today, and the new is, particularly the lower new, is sitting at like a quarter of the summertime average right now. So things are very low, pretty clear. And fishing's been a little tough, but they will still eat. I had a couple fish eat today. Probably been, getting an opportunity most days. So it's nothing to be too scared of. That said, I do wish we'd get a little bit of rain. We're supposed to get some tonight. So hopefully we can go into the weekend with a little bit more water in the river, but we will see. We have had some pretty cold, I think it was, I guess last week. Last week we had a couple of days that it didn't get above freezing. We had some crazy, basically like 15 to 30 mile an hour winds for a week straight. So didn't do much fishing that week. But it's dropped our water temps down to right around kind of depending on the day, because we have had very different daytime temps, seen everything from like the low 40s to the low 50s in the last week or two. So we are slowly sliding towards winter. But things are still fairly warm, and with the clear water, been fishing fairly quick, and, trying to employ all those tactics we talk about in the fall every year, just trying to make long casts, downsizing a little bit, using speed, and just doing everything you can to be stealthy and get fish to eat away from the boat if they're going to do it.
Yeah, it sounds, I'm having all those visions right now of fish seeing boats, pushing wakes, rocking the boat, casting, all that stuff you want to avoid, right?
Yep. That's one skill that everybody's a little bit different in how they cast, but if you can, and it, you do have to shift weight a little bit when you're trying to haul a 12-inch musky fly, 8-inch musky fly, 70, 80 feet. But if you can keep your feet still and, rock a lot more of your upper body as opposed to shifting weight heavy, forward and backwards and rocking the boat, it's always a good thing. And then, just anything you can do to be a little bit stealthier than you'd normally be. Can't hurt. I don't think it's always super necessary, but I tell a lot of people it's easier to catch a fish that doesn't know you're there than a fish that does know you're there. So can't hurt.
Yeah, 100%. And got a question from Marty. And Marty, I apologize. These email questions got into a spam folder and I found them. So, but we are going to answer your question. And Marty's a kayak fisherman, likes to fish the New River for smallmouth and Lake Norman for bass. And he wanted to get your thoughts on the length head you like on your intermediate lines when you're streamer fishing for bass.
Yeah. I'm gonna so I would say for the most part with an intermediate, because it's not a real dense line, we're only talking about like an inch and a half per second sink rate. Those heads tend to be a little bit longer. I'd have to look, but I'm pretty certain most of mine are like 25 to 30 foot heads. And I, for the most part, fish. Well, so you said he fishes lakes, Lake Norman and the river.
Yeah, it sounds like he needs to
Uh,
buy 2 fly lines, right?
yeah, maybe. I mean, so I don't do a lot of bass fishing on lakes, but I do striper fish on the lake quite a bit, and that's a full intermediate that I use, as opposed to an intermediate tip. And that's just, you got flat water, um, no, nothing moving the line really. That the best intermediate line I have found, at least for my striper fishing, has been the Rio striper line. I've tried like half a dozen full intermediates, and again, we're going off on something that's potentially unrelated, but for striper fishing, most of my lake fishing is in the fall and winter. And so you're asking for a cold weather full intermediate, which I think is a fairly rare animal. But that line, in my experience, has been the best in terms of, not coiling up, not having a lot of memory. It's got a little bit of a glow feature too, which helps. But in the river, I do not like a full intermediate, specifically. And I will fish a tip. I think it's just the scientific angler's, intermediate tip, sonar line. But the reason I don't like a full intermediate in the river is just because, in our relatively swift, relatively big rivers, particularly the New River, um, especially in the springtime during the pre-spawn window, or anytime you have heavy flows, um, you'll find yourself casting across a lot of current seams, and sometimes they're fairly heavy. And if you want to fish the current seam, you don't want to be sitting on the current seam casting into slack water. You want to be a little bit off of the current seam so that you can fish through it. And that just means that you're going to have, if you had a full intermediate, you're going to have line in the fast water. And that fast water tends to push a big belly into that line. And so if you can picture, chucking a fly 30 feet into a pocket or an eddy, and you've got this big 10-foot belly, or just, line that's not straight because you have a bunch of billowing currents and stuff between you and the current seam. The fish eats and you have to strip set, and you're only taking in like 2, maybe 3 feet of slack, and maybe you've got 10 or 12 feet of slack because of that, all that coil and billowing in your line. You can miss a lot of fish that way. So I like to fish an intermediate tip, and that just gives me a running line that floats, coming off of my rod tip, so I can mend it, or, at the very least, sometimes, if you get a belly blown into that running line, if a fish eats, you can straighten it out relatively quickly because it's on the surface, as opposed to, buried a foot down in the current. So that's my 2 cents on that. Can't say I'm real picky about the head length, other than the fact that I do like that, 25, 30 feet or whatever. It seems to be a good length for everything that I do.
Well, there you go. Well, Marty, I hope that helps, and I apologize again for the delay getting this on the fishing report. And folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email me or DM me on social media, whatever's easiest for you. And if we use your question, I will send you some articulate fly swag. You're drawing for some cool stuff from Matt at the end of the season. And Matt, before I let you go, you want to let folks know kind of now that your calendar's stabilized, kind of what you have available and how to get in touch and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah. Still booking winter musky stuff. I've got some availability in November, December, pretty much spoken for. There may be a day here or there, but got some stuff open in January, some in February too. We'll do some intermittent smallmouth fishing through the wintertime too. So if you like any kind of streamer fishing for, strong fish, that's a good program too, to get out and catch a bunch of fish in the middle of the winter when everything else is kind of cold and slow. But yeah, that's about it. I won't start thinking about the spring for a couple more months, but if you're interested in any of that, just hit up the website. It's MattReilly.flyfishing.com and reach out to me however you feel best.
And as I always offer this time of year, as we head into winter, I've got I think 2 or 3 gallon bags of the wine corks that you like if you need them for popping bugs.
Yeah, sounds good, man. I'm gonna try to get an early start on that this year, because I got after I got back from striper fishing and cicada fishing for a month apiece this past spring, I kind of got caught with my pants down when it came to bug season. But thankfully we didn't have bug water till about mid-August, and then thankfully I don't lose too many bugs, so I've had plenty in my box for a while without actually making any.
Well, there you go. Well, folks, as I always say, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Matt.
Thanks, Marv.